Hi, everyone, and welcome to Paddle Pals. My name is Emma. I'm a student at Penn State, and I'm here to teach you a little more about kayaking and canoeing in Pennsylvania state parks. Some materials needed, scrap paper and a writing utensil to take notes. We'll be playing some trivia at the end, and you'll do a lot better if you take some notes. So first of all, we're going to talk about kayaks. This is a kayak. The front part of the boat is the bow, the back is the stern, and that cockpit is where you're going to sit. And the hatch is for personal items. So the cockpit, you're kind of low in the boat, and you've got your knees up, and you sit back a little bit. You're a little reclined, and you're nice and close to the water. So when you're paddling in a kayak, kind of like how you see this gentleman here, you're going to use your hands on the shaft. That's the middle black part. And you're going to be putting the blades, which is the end of the paddle, into the water. The blades are cupped like this. So this is the concave side, and this would be the outside, the convex side. You want the concave side, the cupped side, facing you when you're paddling, and then you'll cup the water to leverage it to move the boat forward. When you're holding the shaft, you want your arms or your hands shoulder width apart. So to test, you can go like this, make sure you kind of have an L shape, and then go down. You're gonna have your knuckles flat across the top of the shaft like this, and then a loose grip so that you can move the paddle. Next, we're going to talk about a canoe. This is a basic American canoe. This is a two-person canoe. The bow is on the other side in this image. So that's the front and the back is the stern. And then the gunwales or the gunnels, that's the outside. And that protects the boat from gaining water. And then you'll sit in those seats. So there's a bow seat and a stern seat in this photo. So you don't have that back support in a canoe, so it's really important to sit up straight. One, it'll help your back not hurt, but two, it'll help you leverage the water better. The paddle for a canoe is just a one bladed paddle. So you're going to have your hand up on the grip. That's going to be called your control hand. And then your other hand on the shaft of the paddle, and you'll paddle like this, much like in that photo. You want your control hand covering the whole grip. And again, you want your arms shoulder width apart and your hands shoulder width apart like that. Safety equipment to bring. So you need a PFD or a personal flotation device. You want to make sure that it fits your weight range, fits snugly, and is always on. It does you no good if it doesn't fit or if it's not on your person. You also need a whistle. So in the bottom picture, you can see the orange whistle there. So you need that whistle to be heard from a half mile away. 3 blasts is for help, and that's important in communicating with other people out on the water. Another helpful thing to bring is a bilge pump. So a bilge pump helps you get water out of your boat. It removes water from your boat. You're also kind of stranded from resources out on the water. So personal first aid kit is huge in case anything happens. You also want to bring snacks and water to make sure you're fueled up and hydrated, and wear sunscreen. That water can be, or that sun can be really strong when you're out on the water. So some basic boater safety tips. You're going to want to check the weather forecast before you go. Don't go during a storm. Also pay attention to that wind. That wind can make paddling a lot more challenging. Dress for immersion. Hypothermia is no joke. So plan on going in the water, even if you don't want to go in the water. Bring essential safety equipment that I mentioned earlier on. Paddle with a buddy in case you get into a sticky situation, and pick a route close to the shoreline. There's more to look at anyways, and it's easier in case there's a hassle or anything goes wrong. When you're starting your paddle, you want to start with headwind. So that means paddling into the wind. You'll be more tired on the way back, so make that the easier part and save yourself some trouble. You're also going to want to design a float plan. So a float plan is a detailed plan to help find you in case of an emergency. So with this is something that you're going to want to give to someone that will miss you. You want to include the contact information for all on the trip, where you're putting your boats in and where you're taking them out, and the planned route, your leave time and your estimated time of arrival to get off the river, and then the longest amount of time to wait until notifying the authorities, and a to-do list for the person that you give the plan to so they know the process of notifying the authorities. You want to plan this route within your capabilities. So you want to make sure your plan is reasonable, and you also want to describe your vessel. The more detail you can include in this plan, the better, and make multiple copies so it's easily accessible. So how to paddle at Washington Crossing Historic Park and at other Penn parks in general. So Pennsylvania kayak laws, kayaks and canoes are non-motorized water vehicles. Personally owned kayaks and canoes must be properly registered in PA. So you must have that registration on you all the time. It's one of the two things that you're going to need to get before getting out on the water. You also want a flashlight. It's required by law to carry a flashlight in your vessel. You also are required to wear a life jacket between November 1st and April 30th. And if you're under the age of 12, you always need to wear a life jacket. And it's good practice to always wear one anyways. You need life jackets when you most expect that you won't need life jackets. So before launching, you also need to get a permit. So in Pennsylvania, you need to get a permit. You can go to one of these locations in Bucks County. You can use this yellow link that's at the bottom of the slide. It will also be linked on our site. So you need to get a permit before launching at Washington Crossing. So if you can get a life jacket, the correct permits, and the appropriate safety gear, you'll be good to go. An important thing to recognize is that there's no swimming or launching tubes anywhere in Washington Crossing. So the only things you can use are kayaks, canoes, and stand-up paddle boards. Here's a map of Washington Crossing. To launch into the river, you're going to go on River Road where that big blue star is in the middle of the map on the right. There are also other places you can go in the park for a more relaxed experience. So there's the Delaware Canal or the Lagoon Pond, which is a good place to start for beginners. So now it's time for trivia. Keep track of all of the questions you get right and find your score at the end. So question 1, which side of a kayak paddle should be facing the paddler? The concave side. So if you had concave, if you wrote down concave, you're good to go. Keep track of one. That's the side that's a cup so that you can cup and leverage the water. How far apart should a paddler's hands be when holding either paddle? Shoulder width apart. So don't forget that elbow trick. You can go up like this, look for the L and come down, and that's about how far apart your hand should be. What noise-making object do you need to have in your vessel? A whistle. So make sure that whistle can be heard from far away in case of an emergency. What 2 pieces of paper do you need to get before getting on the river? So you need a permit from the state of Pennsylvania, and you also need to register your personal boat if that's what you're using. An important thing to remember is that that's not just for the river, that's for all bodies of water in the state of Pennsylvania if you're launching at a park. What plan should you tell a friend or family member before going out to paddle? You're going to want to tell them your float plan. So the float plan is that plan of your route so that they know how to react in case you don't make it to your destination within a reasonable amount of time that you expected to, so that an emergency authorities can come out and help you. What is the name of the hand that grips the top of a canoe paddle? So that's called your control hand. That's the one that's up top when you go like this. What are the 3 vessels that you can use at Washington Crossing Historic Park? So you can use a kayak, a canoe, or a stand-up paddleboard. So where's your new favorite place to paddle this summer? We hope it's Washington Crossing Historic Park. Any state park in Pennsylvania will do. We just hope you get out on the water this summer. So now to tally up your points. So once you've counted them up, if you got 3, you're still struggling a little bit, but you'll get there. 3 to 5, still rocking the boat, but better. 5 to 7, very prepared paddler. You're ready to try out your new skills. 7 up, you've passed this. You're a Paddle Pal Pro. So we hope that you get out there and test your skills this summer. Thanks so much for watching.